who's giving this kind of advice to Donald Trump.
That if people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed.
Here he is whispering into the ear of Donald Trump.
Through the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk.
He's got Tesla, the electric car maker. He's got X.
Eliminate hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud. And
someone who's helping the American people or just helping himself.
They're finding things that you wouldn't even believe.
So we have quite a few stories in this video for you, starting with Elon Musk declaring war on the deep state after they continue to try to investigate him. Trump is going to fire federal employees for working from home. And the House GOP Oversight Subcommittee is calling for an official investigation into Liz Cheney over witness tampering. All of these stories and more in this video today, but let's start with Elon Musk. Now, you guys can go to the source of this story, Mike Benz, on the X platform here, but he writes this: the Biden admin paid Rutgers over $300 million in government contracts. 11 different Biden government agencies targeted Elon's businesses. All 11 agencies paid millions to Rutgers. Rutgers then won the Pulitzer Prize for their work on Elon Musk and misconduct at his businesses. Now, he obviously has the screenshots here where it shows the actual contracts that Rutgers received from the federal government. And you guys can obviously go look this up yourself. If you go follow Mike Benz on X, he actually links the database where you could search for the contracts that the U.S. government is putting out. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is the federal government is paying a news organization to run hit pieces on Elon Musk. Just think about that for a second. Now, what's really interesting, when Mike broke that story, the very next day, New York Times comes out with this article here: Elon Musk and SpaceX face federal reviews after violations of security reporting rules. Federal agencies have opened at least 3 reviews into whether the company and its leader complied with disclosure protocols intended to protect state secrets, people with knowledge of the matter said. So you guys already know where this is going, right? Here's what the article continues to say. Elon Musk and his rocket company SpaceX have repeatedly failed to comply with federal reporting protocols aimed at protecting state secrets, including by not providing some details of his meetings with foreign leaders, according to the people with knowledge of the company and internal documents. And I would say here is the actual sticking point of this entire story. Under security clearance rules, Mr. Musk must report information about his private life and foreign travel, among other details, to the Defense Department as part of a process known as continuous vetting that allows the government to evaluate whether someone with a high-level security clearance should continue handling sensitive information. And in addition to all of this is Senator Elizabeth Warren writing a letter to Trump demanding that he set clear conflict of interest rules with Elon Musk. And of course, the transition team did respond, and this is what they said, quote, President Trump has assembled the most impressive and qualified team of innovators, entrepreneurs, and geniuses to advise and staff our government. Pocahontas can play political games and send toothless letters, but the Trump-Vance transition will continue to be held to the highest ethical and legal standards possible, a standard unfamiliar to a career politician whose societal impact is one of 1,024th of Elon Musk. And let me just set the record straight for a lot of you guys out there. I love this post here. In September of 2023, Senator Elizabeth Warren called to investigate Elon Musk. Now she says Elon Musk working with Donald Trump is a conflict of interest. While serving only 10 years in Congress with an annual salary of $193,000, she managed to increase her net worth to $73 million. And yes, Elon Musk did respond to all of these hit pieces. And yes, Elon Musk did respond on X. Here's one of the responses. Yeah, this explains a lot. Shame on Rutgers. Paid propaganda. Then he uses Gronk to create an image of Elizabeth Warren dressing up as Pocahontas, as you can see. So he's pretty much trolling her at this point. And then he also responded to the fact that the Washington Post was actually more offended that the Trump transition team called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas instead of being offended that she lied about her heritage, of course. And here's another post of him firing back at Elizabeth Warren. LMAO, the person actually writing these things from Pocahontas are SBF's parents, by the way. Now, let's just take a moment. If you're getting value from this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, shop our merch store, or you could buy us a cup of coffee. So, of course, after the Pocahontas remark and Elon Musk trolling Elizabeth Warren on social media, she goes on to MSDNC and cries about Elon Musk and trying to fearmonger the audience into believing that Elon Musk is using Trump to his own benefit. Watch this.
So think about it this way. Here is this man, richest man in the world, who has multiple companies. So he's got Tesla, the electric car maker. He's got X. He's got Neuralink. He's got SpaceX and a handful of other companies. Those companies are directly involved with the United States government. Millions and millions of dollars worth of government contracts, millions of touch points where there are rules that will affect those companies, like a $7,500 rebate for electric cars, investigations that are currently ongoing into the practices of each of those companies and, in some cases, into Mr. Musk himself. And here he is whispering into the ear of Donald Trump. So what is he whispering? Is he whispering, here are ways to help the American people? Or is he thinking through ways to make those companies richer, to back off the regulators, or to end any investigations into his work? This is conflicts of interest at a level that we have never before seen in this country.
So let's go to the numbers. The top 5 U.S. federal government contractors. Number 1, Lockheed Martin comes in at $47.7 billion. Raytheon Technologies comes in at $27 billion. General Dynamics comes in at $24.7 billion. Pfizer, approximately $18 billion. So when you're talking about conflict of interest, we might want to look into that one. The Boeing Company at $16.6 billion. And by the way, that's in one fiscal year of 2023. And to compare that to Elon Musk's SpaceX and their contract value, $2.5 billion. So Elizabeth Warren, stop it.
And it is critically important, first of all, that we call it out. And second, that we start to push back and say, no, the American public has a right to know who's giving this kind of advice to Donald Trump. Someone who's helping the American people or just helping himself.
So my question is this for Elizabeth Warren. Will you admit the same thing about yourself? Because you did become $73 million richer by serving in Congress. What about that? I mean, can we say that there's been conflict of interest with you and some of the back end deals that you made that we'll never hear about, of course? I mean, what about that? So we don't need to really buy into this idea because the people who are crying about it are the same people who are walking conflicts of interest. And we know that since the election, Elon Musk became public enemy number 1. He's walking around with a target on his back. This is a guy who's having phone calls and meetings with world leaders. So yes, a lot of people are going to be salty by that. And they're definitely salty at this next story, where Trump has promised to fire federal employees who are working from home. This is part of Elon Musk's role, of course. Here is Trump speaking on that at Mar-a-Lago.
One of the things I'd like to ask the Biden administration, as you probably heard, there are 2 events that took place. We're talking about a friendly takeover, a friendly transition, as they like to say. This is a friendly transition, and it is, but there are 2 events that took place that I think are very terrible. One is that if people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed. And somebody in the Biden administration gave a 5-year waiver of that so that for 5 years, people don't have to come back into the office. It involved 49,000 people. For 5 years, they don't have to go. They just signed this thing. It's ridiculous. So it was like a gift to a union.
And we do know that he's going to take this to court and try to block this from happening because it's about cutting the government waste. Why do we have remote workers at home, but government buildings that taxpayers are paying for, clearly, but nobody's in them? Please make that make sense. Now, this is one of those stories where you know the media is going to try to spin this in a way that will make Trump look bad. That's why it's very important to know where you're getting your information from, which brings us to today's sponsor, Ground News. head over to ground.news/Devori to check them out today. So allow me to show you exactly how this tool really works and why it is so powerful. So I just searched up this story because I want to show you guys how biased the media is. And this tool will be able to show you that because it will import all of the articles from the different media outlets and then organizes it by which way that the article leans. Let me show you an example. Here's an article on the left from NBC News. Key union vows to fight back against Trump, says he would end remote work for federal employees. Here's an example from an article on the right from Valuetainment. Trump Doge vowed to end remote work for federal employees. So the left is going to try to tug on people's heartstrings. Meanwhile, the right is explaining exactly what this is about, which is Doge. And this is why every time you look up a story on Ground News, you'll be able to see the bias distribution score, which tells you which way does the story overall lean. Does it lean more to the left or to the right? And one of the most powerful features of Ground News is what they call the blind spot tool. This will help you see stories that are disproportionately reported by one side of the political spectrum. And that's why I love Ground News, and you will too. So head over to the link in the description below, my pinned comment, or scan the QR code. It's going to take you over to ground.news/Devori to get 50% off the Vantage plan for the rest of this year. And you can, if you're already a subscriber, you can gift that same 50% off to a family or friend. So that particular deal that they are planning to block covers 42,000 Social Security employees around the country. Under the agreement, requirements for workers range from being in office from 2 to 5 days per week. And the AFGE national president, Everett Kelly, responded to Trump's comments about the remote work deal in a statement that the union supports telework, quote, where it delivers for both the taxpayers and the workers who serve them. Telework and remote work are tools that have helped the federal government increase productivity and efficiency, maintain continuity of operations, and increase disaster preparedness. Now, please don't say that, because we know the government was not prepared for those hurricanes. She goes on to say this: rumors of widespread federal telework and remote work are simply untrue. More than half of federal employees cannot telework at all because of the nature of their jobs. Only 10% of federal workers are remote, and those who have hybrid arrangements spend over 60% of working hours in the office. Lastly, collective bargaining agreements entered into by the federal government are binding and enforceable under the law. We trust the incoming administration will abide by their obligations to honor lawful union contracts. If they fail to do so, we will be prepared to enforce our rights. Now, that's what she says. But then Vivek Ramaswamy came out and said that only 6% of federal workers actually work full time in the office. So who's really telling the truth? I don't know. But I do believe an audit should happen and the report should be made public, because we're talking about taxpayer money. And this is why Doge is a real thing and why the American people support it, because we want transparency. And this is why this next story is all about transparency, because now the House GOP is calling for an official investigation into Liz Cheney for witness tampering. And here's Rob Smith from Newsmax reporting on this story. Watch.
Oh, so Liz Cheney wants to throw people in jail if they tamper with witnesses on the J6 committee. That's an interesting take from a congresswoman who appears to have been influencing the J6 committee's star witness, Cassidy Hutchinson. Oh, it doesn't get any better than this. Text messages show Cheney back-channeling with Alyssa Farah Griffin, the annoying chick from The View, in spring 2022. An effort to communicate with Cassidy behind her own attorney's back. Alyssa Farah serving as the communication liaison for the pair. Then this exchange between Cheney and Hutchinson directly arranging a direct phone call that Congressman Barry Loudermilk alleges was to sway her testimony. Cheney also recommending attorneys for Hutchinson, and days later Hutchinson fired her current attorney and hired Cheney's recommended attorney pro bono. Oh.
So the breaking news about all of this is not really the fact that these text messages were shared. We had already known that for quite some time now. The real breaking story behind all of this is now that Trump has obviously been elected to be the president, the new Department of Justice will probably pursue charges against Liz Cheney. And that's why she was so adamant to support Kamala Harris. I mean, what hardcore and true Republican would ever do that? Well, someone who clearly has something to hide, like a Liz Cheney. And here's a copy of that exact report. Very damning for Liz Cheney. Of course, I just want to cover a few findings from Congressman Loudermilk. And here's what he states in the findings. Number one, former Representative Liz Cheney colluded with star witness Cassidy Hutchinson without Hutchinson's attorney's knowledge. Number two, Former Representative Liz Cheney should be investigated for potential criminal witness tampering based on the new information about her communication. And 3, Cassidy Hutchinson's most outrageous claims lacked any evidence, and the Select Committee had knowledge that her claims were false when they publicly promoted her. And he gives these examples here. President Trump did not attack his Secret Service detail. President Trump did not have intelligence indicating violence on the morning of January 6th. Cassidy Hutchinson falsely claimed to have drafted a handwritten note for President Trump on January 6th, and Representative Cheney and Cassidy Hutchinson baselessly attempted to disbar Hutchinson's former attorney. And then they go on with more and more findings, and there's a full report there. And this is all accessible. You can go look this up yourself, actually. Now, since we're on that topic of investigations, Mayor Brandon Johnson out of Chicago would probably be on that list as well, because the citizens are absolutely fed up with the corruption and how out of touch he is with what they want, because he continues to put the illegal migrants ahead of his own residents of Chicago. And here he is getting his ass handed to him during a city council meeting. And this is becoming a recurring pattern. Watch this.
Now, let me just remind everybody here that Brandon Johnson is terrible with the budget. How is this $40 million credit line is going to work exactly? Because the key word is credit. So how much will we be using from this $40 million? And the real question is, how much will we be paying back? Now, you want to sit here, you and JB Pritzker want to puff out your chest and fight Tom Homan. We need Tom Homan here in Chicago. We need Donald Trump. And I don't want to see people like Pam Bundy and Kash Patel, haul you up out of here and become prosecuted. I don't want to see that happen. But they will do their job if they have to, Brandon Johnson. Now, we are $1 billion in debt. That's absolutely insane. Kamala Harris, she spent $1 billion on her campaign less than a year, and she's $20 million in debt. So it's looking like Democrats are bad with money. Now, you ignored me for 10 to 15 seconds last time I was speaking, and I really did not appreciate that at all. But I got a Christmas present for you. Let's remind the people of Chicago that Brandon Johnson spent $32,000 in campaign funds on haircuts and makeup. So I got an early Christmas present for you, Brandon Johnson. This is some makeup for you right here. You got some rouge. You got the makeup brush right there, so you can save this people some money, for crying out loud.
Now, you guys got to understand something. Every city council meeting, that right there happens. Every single time the citizens come out, they scream at the mayor. We know that he's probably one of the worst mayors in Chicago history. I don't even think that's debatable at this point. But he still wants to go down fighting, because here he is, trying to condemn what Tom Homan and Donald Trump and the American people want, which is mass deportation. Listen.
The incoming administration's threat around immigration is dangerous and irresponsible. And this administration is threatening our economy.
This is not about immigration reform. This is about an administration who's determined to stoke fear into the people of this country.
So the context here is that the citizens showed up in order to protest Mayor Brandon Johnson, because he was trying to get a budget passed through for next year, and it did ultimately pass. But again, the city has a $1 billion deficit, and he's talking about spending more money. And definitely it includes spending it on illegal migrants. So why don't we hear from the actual border czar, Tom Homan, on this entire drama around mass deportations? Watch.
But like I said, I'm willing to sit down with the mayor of Chicago, who's saying he's going to do everything he can to prevent me from being successful. I'll meet with anybody, because this is about public safety and national security. So let's meet, let's work together. You don't have to be immigration officers. We'll do that. But be cops, be law enforcement, be elected representatives for your community. Love your community a little more than you hate Trump.
And I love that last quote there. Love your community a little bit more than you actually hate Trump. And that continues to be the problem with these politicians during this time of our country, where they hate Trump so much, it prevents them from exercising common sense decisions that's in the best interest of the people they claim to represent and the people they claim to care about. And I would say one of the individuals who represents exactly what I just said is Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who claims to care about Californians. But we know that isn't the truth, because all we have to do is look at the results and hear how he speaks. Check out his latest claim when he says that DOGE is nothing new. He's been doing that for California for quite some time. Hear it for yourself.
We've been working, I don't know, before Doge was Doge. I don't know what this is, just like a promo project. We've been doing civil service reform in this state. We've been consolidating job classifications. We've been updating job descriptions in this state, and we waived those requirements. And in fact, I think it was in August, earlier August, we came up with your shop. We're going to double that next year. In fact, by 32,000, it'll be 62,000 positions. We will have eliminated those barriers and that requirement. So California's been a leader in that space.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So let me give it to you here. Under Newsom's leadership, California allocated an unprecedented $24 billion over 5 fiscal years to tackle homelessness and housing issues, only to see the issue get worse, by the way. Secondly, a lack of accountability. Despite this substantial investment, audits have revealed that the state failed to consistently track the outcomes of its homelessness spending, making it difficult to assess the effectiveness of these programs. And third, in the year of 2021 to 2022, California spent $7.2 billion, equating to nearly $42,000 per homeless individual. Despite this, the homeless population increased from an estimated 172,000 in 2021 to approximately 181,000 in 2023, indicating that higher spending did not correlate with a reduction in homelessness. In fact, it was the opposite. Now, let me share with you Harold Ford Jr., who's one of the co-hosts on The Five on Fox News, his reaction to Gavin Newsom, because I believe it's the exact message that Gavin Newsom needs to hear. Watch this.
The 33rd president of the United States, Jesse, Harry Truman, once said, it's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. We need a little more of that. Now, there's no doubt President Trump likes taking credit also. Most politicians like taking credit. But if you have a set of ideas from the largest state in the country with the greatest economic engine of any state in the country, it'd be your own, if you were your own country, it'd be the 6th, I believe, biggest economy, if not 5th biggest economy in the world. Give us some ideas. And for all these people in my party who are still so frustrated and so mad and so angry that Trump won, instead of talking, if you don't have something constructive to say, go see a therapist. And I say that not lightly, but don't give us this complaining in the public space. If you have ideas to help the country, give the ideas. Let's stop trying to drive wedges. The country has spoken. And if we want to speak, we should speak constructively over the next several weeks,
Harold.
Several months.
I like that.
And that's why I want to share this clip with you guys, because it goes back to what Tom Homan said. Can you love your community more than you hate Trump? It's what RFK Jr. said. Can we love our children more than we hate ourselves? Okay, so why don't you guys answer this question in the comment section below. Do you believe the investigations and how much Elizabeth Warren is freaking out about Elon Musk? Do you believe that to be appropriate? Or do you just believe that they are politically targeting him because they're salty and jealous of his rise of power and influence, especially on the world stage? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Now, this takes us to the next video that you guys can watch, and that is the fact that the media is now panicking because Trump has threatened to sue other media companies after ABC has settled that defamation lawsuit for $15 million. So, of course, that is making the media sick, and they have a lot to say about it. So if you guys want to check out that video, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.